All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. My name is Kyla, and I'm joined here today by my very good friend, Nacho. Now, before we get started, Nacho's very excited for today, but we just wanted to tell you a little bit about Earth Rangers if you haven't heard of us before. So, Earth Rangers is the kids' conservation organization, and we're the largest of our kind in the world. We have over 200,000 members who are dedicated kids who are helping to protect animals and the environment. And there's lots of things you can do as an Earth Ranger. You can take part in our animal adoptions program, which will help conservation initiatives, help raise money and spread the word about animals. There's also things you can do like our missions, which are eco-friendly activities that you can do in your very own community to help out animals and their habitats. Now, Nacho is here today because we are going to talk a little bit about him. We're also going to do a little bit of an activity of our own later on. But Nacho's pretty excited. So be sure for everyone that you comment, like things I'm saying, have any questions you can ask. Nacho is pretty excited. If you think he looks funny, if you think he's very cute, give me a thumbs up in the chat. We would love to see all your interactions the entire time. That is great. Now, Nacho here, you might be wondering what he is. He's a little bit strange looking, so I'll put him up a little bit closer to the camera. He's being a little camera shy today right now. Nacho, the camera's over here. Ah, there we go. So Nacho is called a curl-crested aracari. Now, you might not have heard of that before. An aracari is a type of small toucan. So kind of like Toucan Sam, just a little bit smaller. And the curl-crested comes from these wonderful, beautiful, very fabulous, stylish feathers on the top of his head. You can see it almost looks like he got a very fashionable perm for today's show. But actually, Nacho's just lucky. He woke up like that this morning. He doesn't have to curl his hair. He is just naturally that prepared, looking great. Now, they're almost kind of looking hard like plastic. They're actually a little bit different texture than the rest of his feathers, and that's how they get that kind of curly cue to them. So very interesting. Now, Nacho here, they are from South America. So they are found in humid rainforests all along South America in countries like Brazil and Bolivia. And they love to hang out in those warm rainforests along the trees. So he's definitely a tree dweller, loves to sit in those trees. Now you can see he's pretty colorful. So he's got lots of different colors all over his body. He's giving you a nice wing stretch. Oh, there we go, showing you all those colors. Oh, other side, you got to even it out. Perfect. All right, now that we're all nice and limber for our live today, Nacho, he's just going to hang out. So you can see he's got all these bright, beautiful colors all over his body, which will help him blend in to those bright, colorful trees that would be in South America. Now, birds are usually known for really good flights. They're known for their wings and flying. But I'm sorry to tell you, Nacho, I'm going to give away your secret today. Nacho's not a great flyer. I know, it's hard to believe. He's pretty majestic looking. As he was stretching his wings for you, he's just pretending. He's not the best flyer at all. So his wings are a little bit stubby and short compared to his body length. He's also got that big beak that he's hiding right now. And that is a little bit heavier than a normal bird's beak. So it's a little bit hard for him to take off and land with that heavy equipment on his face. Now, because of this, they rely on trees being really close together. So they can't fly long distances. They have to kind of hop from tree to tree in their habitat. So they want those branches and trees to be really close together so they don't have a long way to go. So Nacho would actually like to show off right now how he would hop through his habitat. We are going to put him on our wall right here. He's going to go right to the end, taking in his surroundings. All right. And getting a little treat on the end. Very delicious. Now, you might have seen what I was feeding Nacho. It looked delicious probably to you as well. So Nacho is what we call a frugivore. That means that he eats lots and lots of fruit. Me too. I love fruit as well. Some of my favorites, just in case you were wondering, are grapes, which happen to be some of Nacho's favorites as well. So they love to eat fruits like guavas, berries, grapes, things like that they can find in the trees in the rainforest. And they actually will sometimes eat insects and even smaller lizards as well. So once in a while, they need a little bit of extra protein, usually in the mating season, so they will eat some insects to get that as well. But most of the time, they love their fruit. They are very, very healthy. They, believe it or not, don't really like Fruit Loops. Maybe just Toucan Sam is the only one that likes Fruit Loops. And to find those foods that he eats in the trees, he's got that big beak. So you'll notice that it's very long, so it can get into little tiny crevices all around the trees and in little holes to find those fruits. But he's also got a really interesting tongue. Now, Nacho doesn't really like to show off his tongue. He's kind of a little shy about it, so you'll have to just imagine it. Now, his tongue isn't like ours. It's very thin and it's actually kind of feathered. So it looks like a very bristled brush, kind of almost like a really long paintbrush. And it's got lots of different little bristles leading off from it. So those actually help him to taste. So most birds don't have a lot of taste buds. They don't really care about tasting their food too much, not like us. But toucans they can be picky and they really care about food. They're what we would call foodies, I think. So he loves the taste of certain foods more than others. So all of those different bristles on his tongue have lots of taste buds so that he can taste all the different kinds of fruits. And they've actually been known to even just spit out some of the fruits that they don't like. Nacho here, his least favorite food is probably banana, I would say. But he'll take some papaya absolutely any day of the week. That is his favorite. So definitely like some more than others. Now, you might hear Nacho making a few noises. He's actually been pretty quiet this time, but sometimes they make little noises, and that's because they're very social. So they actually live in groups of toucans, between 2 and 12 groups, and 2 to 12 birds in a group, and they hang out together all the time. And they will forage for fruit together. They'll actually even help each other raise their young. So Nacho makes all those noises to communicate with his friends in the rainforest. And I think we have, a question from Emma, who wants to know if he likes blueberries. That's a great question, Emma. And you know what? He absolutely does. I'm happy you mentioned that. Those are one of his favorite fruits to eat. Grapes and blueberries are probably his absolute favorite, just like me. So sometimes we share. All right, great question, Emma. Keep those questions coming. I love to see them, love to answer them. Nacho does as well, because you reminded him that blueberries exist, and he's so excited about it now. All right, now he's actually showing off his beak a little bit more today. So that beak we'll talk about, it's very big, like I mentioned. It's really long and thick. And although it is heavier than a normal bird's beak because it's so much bigger, it's actually not as heavy as you would think. So Nacho's beak is actually kind of hollow on the inside. So what it is, it's made of bony struts, and there's spongy keratin on the inside. And keratin is actually what our hair and our fingernails are made out of. But the stuff that's inside his beak is a kind of spongy. It's got lots of holes in it, so it's almost kind of hollow. So it's not as heavy as you would think. That being said, it is much heavier than, say, our noses on our face. He probably would have a harder time flying with that beak than most birds with their beaks. But like I said, it helps him to gather lots of fruit in the trees. It helps him preen himself, preen other aracaris that he lives with. So it's very important. And you can see it's actually serrated on the edges. And that's to help him chomp on those fruits that he eats, or just play with my fingers just like that. He thinks they're grapes. Sometimes Nacho is very, very playful. Like I said, he's really social. So he loves to have the interaction. You can see those serrations right now really well. And those help him to kind of mash up the fruit because he can't cut it up into little bits and pieces. That doesn't work so well for him. And instead of really chewing it, he just kind of squishes it with that beak. Their beak is also really important for their temperature regulation. So one thing that they will do is actually their beak is like a built-in. Actually, we have a really good question that I need to answer right now before I continue. Olivia wants to know if Nacho likes pears. So he actually does like pears. He doesn't like them as much as the blueberries or the grapes, but he will eat pears every once in a while. Me, if you're wondering, not so fond of pears. I like apples, though. Nacho doesn't like apples. And Haley's asking, why is he so colorful? It's a really great question, Haley. So like I said, he lives in those tropical rainforests in South America. So he's all those colors to kind of match in. The greens on him are to blend into his surroundings. But he's also really colorful because, oh, thank you, Nacho. Oh, that's perfect. All right. So this, I guess, looks like a big grape maybe, or a big blueberry. Excuse me while I just put this back on my microphone. Probably not the best sound right now. All right. See, I told you he was very curious, playful, and social. That was a fun game for him. He's probably loving that he made me look a little bit silly in front of you all right now. But like I was mentioning with his beak, so they will actually use that beak to regulate their temperature. So in the when they're a little bit when it's a little bit colder outside, what they'll do is they'll limit the blood flow to their beak because it has lots of blood vessels and lots of heat escapes through blood vessels. So if he limits that blood to his beak, then he can save lots of heat. And then if he's a little bit warmer, it's warmer outside, he wants to let that heat energy escape. So he'll send lots of blood to that beak so the heat can escape through those blood vessels. So it's kind of like he has his own built-in air conditioner, which is pretty impressive. Now, I think we're going to take another question before Nacho shows off again how amazing he is at hopping. You guys have been amazing asking lots of fun questions for Nacho. Let's see what we have. Oh, okay. Emma's asking what he sounds like. That's a really good question because he's been pretty quiet this whole time. And you know what? I've been talking a lot, so you know exactly what I sound like. But Nacho kind of, to be honest, sounds like he's laughing. And I like to think it's because I'm so funny and he laughs at all my jokes. That's probably not true, but they make a few different calls. He loves that microphone. He doesn't want to talk to you, but he just wants you to hear him eating that microphone. So he will make kind of shrill noises, kind of like a little like laughter. And sometimes he calls really loud and it kind of sounds like a scream, believe it or not. So they make a variety of different calls that mean different things to their other members in their groups. Just got to stretch out those wings today a lot. All right, we have another question coming in. Do they have a good sense of smell from Sabrina? So they actually do not have the best sense of smell. That's a really good question. And you know what? He doesn't have a nose like us. He's just got that beak. He has nostrils on it, but they don't smell so well. So he's got better eyesight. That's what he uses mainly to see and find his very colorful fruits that he would find. He uses that eyesight. So he can see in color and he can see pretty well. Okay, Lily's asking how many eggs do they lay and how many survive? That's a really good question. So they'll usually lay between 5 and 7 eggs. Usually, most of the time, they're pretty good at surviving because the parents take really good care of their eggs. So both the mom and the dad will help incubate the eggs, so lay on them to keep them warm. And they'll all take turns feeding. And sometimes even bigger groups will take turns helping them as well. So it's not just the mom and dad. Sometimes it's like a whole community effort. So they usually survive pretty well. They do have some predators. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But first, I think Nacho wants to show off his very impressive hopping skills again. So we're going to put him back up here. He's going to hop even faster than before. Maybe all the way to the end. There you go. He wanted me to make sure that I didn't get lost on my way. Very good. Nacho having a delicious grape. One of my favorites. He was worried I was going to steal it that time. But don't worry, I don't. All right. Now, what I mentioned before was predators. So Nacho will have a few different, well, not Nacho. He has no predators here, except me maybe stealing his grapes. But in the wild, they have a few predators, mostly big birds of prey. So things like owls, hawks, and eagles, and sometimes even things like boas and jaguars. So they do have a few different predators, but their main thing that they have to worry about is habitat loss. So in the rainforest, lots and lots of trees are being cut down to make room for lots of roads and buildings and cities. So what happens is those trees are cut down, and then Nacho, like I said, he relies on those trees being really close together to be able to fly. So if lots of trees are cut down and there's too much space between the trees, it can be a really big problem for these birds. So it's really important that we make sure that we are managing habitats so that we don't lose species, just like Nacho here. Now, I think what we're going to do now, Nacho was telling me, he's pretty excited about it, is a little bit of an activity. So Nacho has been amazing. He might come back a little bit later on to talk, but while I'm putting Nacho away, I want you guys to think about some of the birds in your backyard. They probably don't look like Nacho. Sure, they look a little bit different, but think about them. Maybe write in the chat what kind of birds you might see in your backyard while we're putting Nacho away, and then we'll get ready for our next activity. All right, I'm over here now, everyone. Hello, different background, change of scenery. I'm just going to kneel here because it's the perfect height for me. Now, what we're going to do now, you see I've set some things up on my table. We've got quite a few things in front of us today, looking very exciting. So I was talking about some of the birds in your very own backyard. So sometimes in my backyard, I see blue jays, I see cardinals, I see robins, and sometimes if I'm very lucky, my favorites, I see lots of birds of prey as well. But those birds that I mentioned earlier, like blue jays and cardinals and maybe chickadees, they love to eat birdseed. I'm sure some of you may have bird feeders at home and you can watch them. And that's really important for birds, especially in the wintertime when there isn't a lot of food around. It really helps them out, and it ensures that they have a better chance at survival if there is food around for them, especially in the winter. So what we're going to do today is a very fun eco activity, and we're actually going to make our very own bird feeder using some scraps that I had for lunch. Now, what we're going to do, you need a few different things for this. I'm going to use today an apple. You guys can use apples. You can use any fruit you have lying around. If it's oranges, we're actually going to make a very fun bird feeder. So the first thing we're going to do is, I've actually already done it because I didn't want to do it on live TV in case I cut myself. So I cut my apple in half, just like this. So make sure if you're doing it with your parents that they are helping you. You can take some scraps. If you have an orange peel that you already ate the orange out of, you can take the orange out of that and use the peel. And then what you're going to do is scoop that out. So I'm taking my apple and I'm going to scoop it out, and then I'll come up close to the camera and show you exactly what I did. All right, so this is a good apple. You know what? I'm still going to eat the core a little bit later on because I don't want any food to go to waste. So it's a little trickier than I thought it would be. All right, so I've carved out my apple. I've cut it in half horizontally and carved it out just like that. So it kind of looks like a very cool, neat little bowl, as you can see. And like I mentioned, you can also do it with an orange. You can carve it out just like that and have just the peel. Now I'm going to go back behind my table once more and show you guys the next step. The next thing that I have here are some skewers. So I found these around my house, just fancy everyday skewers. But what we're going to do is poke them right through our apple bowl. Well, this one's kind of falling apart. Just like that, so that it has a little perch for a bird. And I'm going to use two just to balance things out a little bit better. You can put them perpendicular to each other so that when birds perch on the sides, they have a nice balance to them as well. So I'll show you that up close and personal at the camera. You can see I just did perpendicular skewers in there, just like that, nice and stable for the birds. And I'll show you the other one we had as well. This is the orange peel. So exactly the same thing, just piercing the sides. And you have a nice little perch for the birds. Now, we're not done yet because you can't really put this on the ground. The birds usually don't like to sit on the ground too often. So what we're going to do is attach some string. So I'm going to make this apple one. And I've got some twine here. And this is probably the hardest part. I'm going to tie around, kind of make like a little tent for our bird feeder. So tying it around this way and then along the other side. And this is also a great way to use food scraps that you wouldn't normally use. So things like I said, the orange peel that you would normally be composting, you can just use it to help out the birds instead. Or even if you eat half an apple or you don't like the peel of an apple, you can use the outside of the apple as well. You could still eat the delicious inside. So I have one here like this, but I don't think a bird wants to sit on that. So we're going to make it a little bit better. And we're going to put some string on the other side as well. Now this twine is probably not the best. You could probably find some better twine at home. It kind of looks like this twine has COVID hair. It's a little scraggly, but I'm sure the birds won't mind. So I'm tying both sides. I'm just doing a simple knot, a double knot actually, so it can hold birds that maybe have a little winter weight on them. We all have a little winter weight. All right, so this is it. They're more or less the same length. One might be a little bit longer. All right, so we have our bird feeder just like that. I'll show you guys up close again, but it's missing one thing. There's absolutely nothing in this bird feeder. There's a little bit of apple, but you know what? They might want something else. So you guys can fill it with bird seed. But what I'm going to actually do is fill it with Nacho's favorite food. So I've got grape, papaya, strawberry, some of Nacho's absolute favorites. And what I'm going to do is fill it up and see if Nacho would love to snack on it. And if he doesn't, I probably will. But we will see. So actually looks very delicious. I might just make this for my next meal. There's our bird feeder. And I'm going to grab Nacho and we're going to see if he is interested in eating. All right. So I've got my friend back. Let's see. He's going to check it out for a minute. You're maybe a little too big to perch on it, buddy, but let's see if you want to eat the fruit inside. He's checking it out. Not so sure. Nacho, there's your favorite grapes in there. Maybe he didn't like it so much. Well, we tried. You know what? Some things when they're new are a little bit scary to Nacho, and that's okay. Sometimes new things are scary to me as well. Let's see if Nacho just wants a grape right from my hand. Do you want that grape? There you go. That's, you know what? It's much easier that way. That's the way he wanted it. All right, now he's got too much energy. So, like I mentioned before, you can fill yours up with bird seed. It'll make it much better for your birds in your backyard. Things like sunflower seeds, all those kind of seeds that you can buy at the store. Put those in there, and that will help them throughout the winter for sure. Now, if you liked our eco activity today, we actually are going to put a link in the chat with links to different eco activities that we can send you all the time. So parents, if you're looking for something to do that will help the environment, you can do it with your kids, and we'll put a link in the chat right now, and you guys can do some of those at home using materials from your very own house. So also kind of segueing into that, one of the things you can also do is missions. So Earth Rangers have missions that are on our Earth Rangers app, and they're eco-friendly activities, kind of like the one that we did today, where you can help animals in your own neighborhood. So things like building, making a pollinator garden, or even building a backyard bird feeder. Some of those things are on there, and you can accept them on the Earth Rangers app and then get started and help animals in your own backyard. So the last thing, I think Nacho is still holding that grape. He doesn't want to give up that grape, loves it. This was an awesome live. I hope you guys enjoyed building your backyard bird feeder. I think Nacho did, even though he was a little bit not so sure of it. But you know what? He definitely loves the grapes. So we want to give a big thank you to Ash Grove Cement for sponsoring the For the Birds mission. So if you guys accept the For the Birds mission in the Earth Rangers app, you can learn different tricks about how to make the bird feeders in your backyard using materials from your own house. And they'll even give you quizzes and things like quizzes and different tips for bird watching. So you guys can become bird watching enthusiasts. And then you can actually help and help out animals in your own backyard and help them throughout the winter. And we have a special code for you guys, which is on the screen right now. It's 4birds21. And if you add that into the Earth Rangers app, you guys can get some extra bonus points. So 4birds21, make sure you remember that, write it down, and use that to get some extra points. But Nacho has eaten his grape. I think he did a great job. Get a big thumbs up for Nacho in the chat. Good job, Nacho, and your curly hair. But that does it for us, everyone. So we'll see you next time.